proclaimed God is to be praised, and we are about to praise using, and the medium of our praise is primarily or especially the book of Psalms, attributed to King David. So we start with one of those, page 127, Psalm 19, which proclaims that the heavens themselves, the heavens even, are declaring God's glory. למנצח מזמור לדוד, השמיים מספרים כבוד אל, ומעשה ידיו מגיד הרקיע, יום ליום יביע אומר, ולילה ללילה יחווה דעת, אין אומר ואין דברים, בלי נשמע קולם. בכל הארץ יצא קוום, ובקצה תבל מלהם, לשמש שם אוהל בהם, והוא כחתן יוצא מחופתו, יסיס כגיבור לרוץ אורח, בקצה השמיים מוצאו, ותקופתו על קצותם, ואין נסתר מחמתו. Torah Adonai Temima, Torah Adonai Temima, Torah Adonai Temima, Temima Meshivat Nafesh, Edut Adonai Ne'emana, Edut Adonai Ne'emana, Edut Adonai Ne'emana, Ne'emana machkima peti. Oy pikudei Adonai yesharim, yesharim samchei lev. Oy pikudei Adonai yesharim, yesharim samchei lev. Mitzvah Adonai bara. Mitzvah Adonai bara, mitzvah Adonai bara, bara meirat einayim, yirat Adonai tehora, yirat Adonai tehora, yirat Adonai tehora, tehora omedet la'ad. Oy mishpatei Adonai emet, emet, tzadku yachdav. Oy mishpatei Adonai emet, emet, tzadku yachdav. V'nechamadim yizahavu kazrav, umtukim midvash v'nofet zufim. Gam avdecha nizhar bahem. B'shomram kevrav, u'chiyot miyavin. Who can discern his or her own errors? V'nistarot nakeni. Gam mizedim asoch avdecha, halim sheluvi, az etam v'niketi mipesharav. Yiyu l'ratzon imrefi, v'hegioni bi lefanecha. Adonai Tzuri Vegoali. We turn to another one of the Psalms of King David on page 132, Psalm 136, which gives us some hint of how Psalms might have been recited in the temple of old. I will line out each line, each verse, and there's a response, ki le'olam chasto. So I will, if you'd like to unmute yourselves, I will wait for you to respond with ki le'olam chasto. It's also customary for this psalm to stand. Odu l'Adonai kito,
Ki le'olam chasto,
Odu Elohim,
Ki le'olam chasto,
Odu l'Adonai Adonim,
Ki le'olam chasto,
Le'osei leflaot gedorot levado,
Ki le'olam chasto,
Le'osei hashamayim b'tvuhuna,
Ki le'olam chasto,
Le'rokach ha'aretz al ha'hamayim,
Ki le'olam chasto,
Le'osei orim gedolim,
Ki le'olam chasto,
Et hashemesh l'shel bayom,
Ki le'olam chasto,
את הירח וכוכבים לממשלות בלילה. למכי מצרים בבחוריהם. ויוצא ישראל מתוכם. ביד חזקה ובזרוע נטויה. לגוזר ים סוף לגזרים. והעביר ישראל בתוכו. וניער פרעה וחילו בים סוף. למוליך עמו במדבר. למכי מלכים גדולים. ויהרוג מלכים אדירים. סיחון מלך האמורי. ולעוג מלך הבשן. ונתן נצם לנחלה. נחלה לישראל עבדו. ובשפלנו זכר לנו. ויפרקנו מצערנו. נותן לחם לכל בשר. הודו לאל השמיים. We turn to another psalm from the book of Psalms, King David. This is the one specially designated for Shabbat. It says, Mizmor Shir Leyom Shabbat, psalm for the Sabbath day. Tov Lodot Ladonai, this is page 134. ולזמר לשמך עליון, להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות, עלי עשור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בכינור. כי שימחתני אדוני בפועלך במעשה ידיך ארנן, מה גדלו מעשיך אדוני, מאוד עמקו מחשבותיך. איש בר לא ידע, וכסיל לא יבין את זאת, בפרוח רשעים כמו עשב, יציצו כל פועלי אבן, לשמדם ריד, ואתה מרום לעולם אדוני, כי הנה אויביך אדוני, כי הנה אויביך יאבדו, יתפרדו כל פועלי אבן. ותרם כרעם קרני, בעלותי בשמן רענן, ותרבית עיני בשורי, וקמים עלי מרעים תשמענה אוזני. צדיקתה מה יפרח, כארז בנבחר לא נזכה, שתולים בבית אדוני, בחצרות אלוהינו יפריחו. עוד ינובון בשיבה, דשנים ורעננים יהיו, להגיד ישר אדוני, צורי ולא עוולת בו. We turn to Ashrei on page 136, also from the book of Psalms. And we do this responsively, but it will be chaos if we all responded. So I ask Rabbi Jim, as usual, to be the respondent. אשרי יושבי ביתך, עוד יהללוך סלה.
אשרי העם שככה לו, אשרי העם שאדוני אלוהיו.
תהילה לדוד אדונך אלוהי המלך, ועברך שמך לעולם ועד.
ברכו ים אברכך, ויעלה שמך לעולם ועד.
גדול אדוני ומהולל מאוד, ולגדולתו אין חקר.
דור לדור ישבח מעשיך, וגבורותיך יגידו.
הדר כבודתך ודברי נפלאותיך עשית.
ועזוז נורותיך יאמרו, וגדולתך אספרנה.
זכר רב טובך יביעו, וצדקתך ירננו.
חנון ורחום אדוני, ערך אפיים וגדול חסד.
טוב אדוני לכל, ורחמיו על כל מעשיו.
יודוך אדוני כל מעשיך וחסידיך יברכוך.
כבוד מלכותך יאמרו, וגבורתך ידברו.
להודיע לבני האדם גבורותיו, וכבוד האדם מלכותו.
מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים, ממשלתך בכל דור ודור.
סומך אדוני כל הנופלים, וזוקף לכל הכפופים.
עיני כל אליך יסברו, ואתה נותן להם את אוכלם בעיתו.
פותח את ידיך, ומשביע לכל חי רצון.
צדיק אדוני בכל דרכיו, וחסיד בכל מעשיו.
קרוב אדוני לכל קוראיו, לכל אשר קראוהו באמת.
רצון יראיו יעשה, ואת שבתם ישמע ויושיעם.
שומר אדוני את כל אוהביו, ואת כל רשעים ישמיד.
תהילת אדוני ידבר פיו, יברך כל בשר, עם קודשו לעולם ועד.
ואנחנו נברך יה, ואתה ביד עולם, הללויה.
Page 141, the last of the Psalms in the Psalm book, Psalm 150. Hallelujah, 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 El Bekodsho, hallelujah, hallelujah, Birkia Uzo, hallelujah, 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 Big Burotav, hallelujah, hallelujah, Kerov, good Lord, hallelujah, 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 Beteka Shofar, hallelujah, hallelujah, Benevel Bechinor. Hallelujah, 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 betofu machol, hallelujah, hallelujah, b'minim be'ugav. Hallelujah, 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 b'silzele shama, hallelujah, hallelujah, b'silzele truah. Kol haneshama, hallelujah, tehalelia, hallelujah. Kol hanshama, tehalelia, hallelujah. Kol hanshama, tehalelia, hallelujah. Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen v'amen. Baruch Adonai mitzion shochen Yerushalayim, hallelujah. Baruch Adonai Elohim Elohei Yisrael, osei niflaot levado. Uvaruch Shem kibodo le'olam, v'yimalei kibodo al kol haaretz. Amen ve'amen. I just want to say it's kind of delightful to see, even though I can't hear you, to see some of you just singing along. And I can see your there's a slight lack of synchronization. So when I see your mouth making the word just a second or so after I do, but it's great, wonderful. Page 145. Nishmat kol chai tevarech. Problem? Somebody speak now?
Yeah, you accidentally turned off my video, Harriet.
I didn't do it. Jim, can you help with that? Harriet would like to see her, and I'd like to see her too.
I'm getting a message that my video is turned off by the host.
Jim is the host. Rabbi Jim is the host.
Sorry, I was unmuted. That wasn't a mistake, Harry. You have a lamp or something behind you that was so glary and distracting that I had to
Okay.
Completely backlighting you, so we couldn't see you anyway. All we could see was the lamp.
Yeah, I
So if you could remove that.
Okay, it's not a lamp, it's daylight. Sorry, it's okay. Just
blot out the sun. We need an eclipse.
So you can
doing that for a few weeks.
Okay, so I don't know if Harry can do anything about changing where she's sitting so that she's not so backlit. We'd love to see your face, Harry, if that's possible. If not, we'll have to do without.
okay.
There we go. Well, that's not so bad, Jim. We can. It's just she's side lit now. Okay.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
All right.
you can see it's right there.
Yeah, there it is. Whoa, terrific.
It's something. Yeah.
Maybe pull down the shade.
The window to your left, Harriet.
Yeah.
Can you pull out
Your
the left of
I
you?
know I closed the blind, but it doesn't help.
Okay.
The sun is very
Sorry.
powerful.
Can you angle your computer over towards your right?
You're very
All
good
right,
at
never
social
mind.
Well, no, well, we'd like to see you. We'd like to
It
have you
doesn't hurt
if
anybody.
it's possible.
Oh,
You're
Oh!
the other direction.
Wow,
oh,
that's exciting.
It is.
No, it doesn't
So-
hurt anybody if she has the glare. It's not hurting anyone.
Yeah. This is it's son et lumière, Zoom style. Okay. Page 145. Nishma kol chai tevarech et shimcha Adonai Eloheinu v'ruach kol basar tefa'er min olam ad olam adeh v'zeu masir ein lanu melech el ata הראשונים לא כל בריאות אדון כל תולדות המהולל ברוב התשפחות המנהג עולמו בחסד ובריאותיו ברחמים ואדוני לא ינום ולא יישן המעורר ישנים והמקיץ נרדמים ומשיח ימים המתיר אסורים וסומך נופלים זורקי כפופים לך לבדך אנחנו מודים הילופינו מלא שישירה קיים ולשוננו רינה כמון גליו שפתותינו שבח כמרחבי רקיע ועינינו מאירות כשמש וכירח ועינינו מאירות כשמש וכירח וידינו פרוסות כנשרי שמיים ורגלינו קלות כילות אין אנחנו מספיקים להודות לך אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו ולברך את שמך על אחת מאלף אלפי אלפים וריבי רבבות פעמים הטובות שעשית עם אבותינו ועם אמותינו ועמנו. Page 146, ממצרים גלתנו אדוני אלוהינו, מפת עבדים מאיתנו. חרב. הנה עזרנו ורחמך, עזבונו חסדך, אל תיטשנו אדוני אלוהינו לנצח. Al Kain, Evarim, Shepilakta Banu, all the different parts of our body that you put in them, to our bodies, Varuach and Shama, and our spirit and our soul, Shenafachta Apenu, that you put into our breath, Lashon, Asher Samta Befinu, and the tongue which is in our mouths. All these parts of ourselves, Hein Yodu, Vivarchu, Vishabachu, Vifa'aru, Viromimru, Viaritzu, Yakdishu, Vamlichu, et Shimchamal Kenu, all these are available for praising. Ki Hod Peh Lecha Yodeh, for every mouth acknowledges you. Lashon Lecha Tishavah, every tongue swears to you. V'chol Berech Lecha Tichra, V'chol Komal Lechanecha Tishachabeh, ולבבות יראוך וכל קרב וכליות יזמרו לשמך כדבר שכתוב כל אשר תאמרנה אדוני מי כמוך מציל אני מי חזק ממנו מי ואביון מגוזלו מי ידמה לך מי ישרה לך מי יערוך לך האל הגדול הגיבור והנורא אל עליון בני שמיים וארץ נהלל כאן שבך פארך ונברך את שם קודשך David. Again, David, we're bringing in David here and his Psalms. Barchi nafshi et Adonai v'chol karavai et shem kodsho. Page 147. Ha'el betatzmotozecha, agadol bichod shemecha, agibor lanetzach v'hanora benorotecha, hamelech hayoshev al kiseh Ram V'Nisa. Now we're in the middle of page 147, and Shabbat Shalom, everybody, and Susan Brand will take over at this point.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbos. And I'm going to put I'll put the liturgy up on the screen for people to follow.
And I'll wait.
No, don't wait. You can just go ahead. It'll just be one.
Okay. Shochein ad marom v'kadosh shemo v'chatuv ranu tzadikim badonai laisharim nava tehila B'fi yesharim tithalal, U'divrei tzadikim titbarach, U'bilshon chasidim titromam, U'kerev kadoshim titkadash, U'makalot rivavot Amacha Beit Yisrael, U'rina yipor shimcha malkinu, B'chol dor v'dor, Shekein chovat kol yitzurim, Lefanecha Adonai Eloheinu, Ve'Elokei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Lehodot, lehalel, leshabeach, lebor lamam, lahadil v'orech, v'yam. All kol divrei shirot v'tishbechot, David ben Yishai, Avdecha Meshichecha. At the top of page 148, please rise if you're able. Yishtabach Shimecha La'ad Malkeinu Ha'el Melech HaKadosh Oret Yilchanai Adonai Eloheinu V'Havotenu Tenu Shir Shvacha Chalel V'Zimra V'Zimra Shalad Netzach V'Gilad V'Rahati Rachot V'Hodot Me'ata V'Yad Olam Baruch Atah Adonai El Melech Gadol Batishbachot El HaHodaot Adon HaNiflaot HaBocher B'Shirei Zimra Melech El HaOlamim. Rabbi Jim, do you want to be the respondent here? Yikadav Yikadash Shemei Rabbah Yom HaDivrach Yirtei V'Yamlech Malkutei B'Chaychon V'Yamechon V'Chayei Kol Beit Yisrael V'Agalav Yismakari V'Yimeru Amen. Shmei Rabbah V'Parach V'Olam Omeim Hayah Yiparach V'Tabach Yitor V'Yamam V'Yitnasei V'Yitadar V'Yitalev V'Yitalal Shemei D'Kudashah Le'elam in kol birchata v'shivata v'fachata v'nechamata damiram v'yama v'yimeru. Amen. Page 149. Baruch hu et Adonai hamavorach.
Baruch Adonai Vorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamavorach le'olam va'ed. You may be seated. Page 150. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, yoter or v'rei choshech, oseh shalom, v'rei et hakol, hakol yoducha v'hakol yishabachucha. We're at the red triangle at the bottom of 150. Ein kirkecha v'ein zulatecha, efes biltecha, umidom elach. Ein kirkecha v'ein zulatecha, efes biltecha, umidom elach. Ein kirkecha ba'olam hazeh, v'ein zulatecha ha'olam haba, efes biltecha limod hamashiach, v'ein domeh lecha chitchayach hametim. El Adon al kol hamasim baruch u'mbarach v'fi kol neshama gadlo v'tuvo malei olam da'at u'funa sovavimoto hamid gael achayot hakodesh v'nedar b'chavod al hamerkava zechut u'mishor livnei chiso chesed v'rachamim livnei kvodo. Tovi miorot shebara Eloheinu yitzaram b'da'at v'vina uv'haskel koach uvura natan bahem liot moshlim b'kerev tevel meleim ziv u'mafikim noga na'ezivam b'chol ha'olam sumechim b'tzeitam v'sasim b'voam osim b'yei maratzon konam Erechavod notnim lishmot alavarina lezecher malchuto kara lashemesh vayizrach ora v'hikid turat havana Shevach notnim lo kol tzeva marom tiferet u'gedula serafim v'yofanim b'chayot hakodesh yala la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la ya la 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 ya la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 la. Top of page 152. Continue silently. La'el asher shavat mikol ma'asim. Page 153, continue silently. Tipara Tureinu Malkeinu V'Goaleinu. Kulam Avim, Kulam Giborim, Kulam Giborim, V'Kulam Osim Bi'ema, V'Yara Ritzon Tonam, V'Kulam Pochim Et Pihem, V'Kedushav Torah, V'Shirav Zimra, U'Farchim U'Shabachim U'Farim U'Ritzim U'Maktishim U'Mamlichim. That is the biggest tongue twister in Shachrit. We're at the second red triangle on page 153. V'chulam mekablim aleihem o malchut shamayim ze mizeh. 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 Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzvaot, V'lochol ha'aretz kavodo, V'hafanim v'chayot hakodesh, V'rash gadol minasim l'umat serafim, L'matam ha'shavachim v'yomrim, Baruch kavod Adonai min komo, L'el Baruch nimot yitenu. Kadesh v'tivah b'chol yom tamid yoseh v'yishit kamor yoseh omrim gedolim ki olam chasto or chadash al tzion ta'ir or chadash al tzion ta'ir v'nizkechu lanu mehera li'oro Baruch atah Adonai yotzer hamiorot. Page 154. Ava rabba avtanu Adonai Eloheinu Chemla gedola v'teira chamalta aleinu Avinu malkeinu Bavur avotenu v'imotenu Shebatu v'cha Avinu malkeinu Vat lamden chukei chaim Kein techanenu lamdenu Avinu ha'av ha'rachaman Hamrachem rachem aleinu V'tein b'libeinu V'havinu l'haskil lishmoa Lilmod u'lilamed lishmor v'laso U'kayem et kol divrei Talmud Toratecha bi'ahava V'ha'eridenu b'toratecha v'dabek l'deinu b'mitzvotecha ויחד לבבינו לאהבה וליראה את שמך, והאר עינינו בתורתך, ודבק ליבנו במצוותיך, ויחד לבבינו לאהבה וליראה את שמך, ולא נבוש לעולם ועד, ולא נבוש לעולם ועד, כי בשם קדשך הגדול והנורא בטחנו, נגילה, 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 ונשמחה בישועתך. והביאנו לשלום מארבע כנפות הארץ, ותוליכנו כממיות לארצנו, כי אל פועל ישועות אתה, ובנו בחרת מכל עם ולשון, וקרבתנו לשמך הגדול סלע באמת, להודות לך ולכתך באהבה. ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה. Page 155. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Yahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha b'chol nafshecha b'chol miodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shiftecha b'veitecha v'lechtecha v'aderech v'mishachtecha v'punecha v'kshartam liot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha v'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha v'visharecha. Continue silently on page 156. Yom Adonai al Moshe Lemor. Adonai Elohechem emet. Continue silently on page 157. V'dor v'ador hu kayam, u'shmo kayam, v'chiso nachonu malchuto, v'emunato la'ad kayamet. Malkeinu melech avotenu v'imotenu, go'aleinu go'el avotenu v'imotenu, yotzreinu tzur yeshuatenu, hodenu matzilenu me'olam shemecha, ein Elohim zulatecha, Ezrat avotenu v'imotenu, atahu me'olam. At the bottom of page 157. Emet, emet, emet atahu rishon, emet, emet, emet atahu acharon, umi baladecha ein lanu melech, melech goel u'moshiach, umi baladecha ein lanu melech, melech goel u'moshiach. Continue silently at the top of page 158 till we get to Ram Vanisa. Ram v'nisa gadol v'nora, mashpil geim umagbiya shifalim, moti asirim ufo de anavim v'ozer dalim. V'yoneh li'amo v'yoneh li'amo b'eit shavam elav. Tehilot le'el elyon, tehilot le'el elyon. Baruch hu mevorach Moshe u'Miriam u'bnei Yisrael, Moshe u'Miriam u'bnei Yisrael lecha anu shirah. B'simcha rabba, b'simcha rabba v'yamru kulam. Mi chamocha bo'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, Norah tehilot osei felech. Shira Hadasha Shibuku Yolim Nishimcha Safat Hayam Yachad Kulam Hodu V'Imlichu V'Yamaru Adonai Yimloch Le'olam Va'ed. Please rise if you're able at the bottom of 158. Sur Yisrael Tuma B'Ezra Yisrael Ufdehinu Mecha Yehuda v'Yisrael, go aleinu Adonai tzvaot shemo, kadosh Yisrael, Baruch atah Adonai, la'al Yisrael. Page 159, we'll mutedly do the Amidah together, and Jim, Rabbi Jim, if you'll be the congregation for the Kedusha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel v'Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim v'Konei HaKol, v'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imot, Maybe Goel Lifnei V'Nehem L'man Shemo B'Yahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach Magen. Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham Ufokei Tzara. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechayei Metim Atara B'Hoshia. Mashiv HaRuach U'Morid HaGashem. Mechalkel Chayim B'Chesed. Mechayei Metim B'Rachamim Rabim. So make noflim B'Rofei Cholim. Umatir Asurim, Umakayem Emunato Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Ba'al Gevurot, Umidom Elach, Melech Memid, Umakayem, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'manatal HaChayot Metim. Baruch atah Adonai Mechayei HaMetim.
Amen. Nikadesh ba'olam kashem shemati shimotu b'shmei marom kakatuv al yad neviyecha v'Torah zeh el zeh v'yamah.
Nikadesh Shimcha b'olam kashem shemakdishim oto b'shmei marom kakatuv al yad neviecha v'Torah zeh el zeh v'yamar.
Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzebaot, Meloch ha'aretz kevodo. Az b'kol rash gadol adir v'chazak mashmi'im kol, minasim l'matzrafim l'matam baruch yameru.
Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzvaot, Melech ha'aretz kevodo. Az b'kol rash gadol adir v'chazak mashmi'im kol, mitnasim l'matzrafim l'matam baruch yomeru.
Baruch kavod Adonai mimakomo ממקומך מלכנו תופיע ותמלוך עלינו כי מחיכים אנחנו לך. מתי תמלוך בקרוב? בימינו לעולם ועד מתי תמלוך בציון בקרוב בימינו לעולם ועד תשכון. תקדע ותקדש בתוך ירושלים עירך לדור ודור ולנצח נצחי.
Baruch Adonai ממקומך מלכנו תופיע ותמלוך עלינו כי מחכים אנחנו לך. מתי תמלוך בציון בקרוב בימינו לעולם ועד תשכון. תקדע ותקדש בתוך ירושלים עירך לדור ודור ולנצח נצחים. ועינינו תראנה מלכותך כדבר האמור בשירי עוזך על ידי דוד משיח צדקך.
ימלוך אדוני לעולם אלוהיך ציון לדור ודור הללויה.
ימלוך אדוני לעולם אלוהי ציון לדור ודור הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גדלך ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש. בשבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. כי המלך גדול וקדוש אתה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Amen.
And continue silently from page 162 to 166. Say hi to Lee. Sabenu, Sabenu, Sabenu mitubecha, v'samchenu oy bishuatecha. Sabenu, Sabenu, Sabenu mitubecha, v'samchenu oy bishuatecha. V'taher libenu, libenu, Li'avdecha, li'avdecha, li'avdecha. Turn to page 167 for the Kaddish Shalem. Rabbi Jim, will you be the congregation? Yitkadav Yitkadash Shemei Rabbah. Yomai Divrach Yurtei, V'yamlich Malchutei, B'chai Yechon, V'yamechon, V'chai Yedechol Beit Yisrael, B'agolav V'zman Kari V'yimaru.
Amen.
Ishvi Rabba Mitzvah.
Abba Mevara.
Yalamu Al Yamaya Yitara.
Yitbarak v'yishtabak v'yitparak v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitador v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei kudashah. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechamata damiran b'yamar v'yimaru.
Amen.
Yitgabel slot tahon v'tahon d'chol Yisrael kadam avuhon di v'shmaya v'yimaru.
Amen.
Yehei shlomo rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimaru.
Amen.
Oseh shalom b'mroma v'yaseh shalom aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimaru.
Amen. Yesh koach. So Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Yesh koach to Susan and to Norman for beautiful davening. Very grateful to them. It's wonderful to see everyone's, if not your face, at least a screen that says your name. Very happy that we have a nice community today. I want to welcome for the first time 2 people that I'm seeing here for the first time, which is great. So Annette, welcome. And Paula, also welcome. Wonderful that you've joined us. Hope that you will continue to do so. And Kai has been here a few times, but not so many times. So I want to make mention of the fact that they're here too. Wonderful. And so now we will have our Torah reading. And I see that Harriet has found a more photogenic part of her house. So now we can see her face and not just the outline of her head, which is great. So welcome.
Yeah, but you're not going to see it when I'm reading.
That's okay, but
You're not going to see it.
At least we can see you now, which is good. All right, so please give me a moment to pull the text of the Torah onto the screen. Take a few moments if you are up for it to wish one another good Shabbos.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shalom.
Hi, Sarah.
Everybody.
Hi, Paula.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom. Nice to see everybody.
Shabbat
What?
shalom.
I actually saw Sherry and Jim in the flesh last Saturday afternoon in Harvard Square with all the people raising a ruckus.
It's hard to believe it was
They
only.
needed to raise a ruckus.
It's hard to believe it was only 1 week ago.
It was
Right.
a ruckus that needed to be raised.
I think this year seems to be like a decade.
Yeah, it's true.
So much has been going on.
All right.
Are you going to read the English, Jim? Or do you want me to?
Wait,
I can do it.
Yeah, you do it.
You've done a lot
this
today already.
isn't, excuse me, this isn't where I'm starting.
No, it's not.
Okay,
But I'm going to figure out in a minute where you're starting, and then we'll move.
okay.
Unless you want to read what you didn't. If you want to read, want to do a full Kriya today, Harriet? You know.
No.
Marcia, do you want to say something? Okay. I'm going to assume. I'm going to take that as a no.
Answer.
All right. So we're going to begin at chapter 24, verse 10. The first aliyah is verses 10 through 14.
Chapter page 132 of the Eitz Chaim, if you're following in a book.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay,
Wait,
Please.
will everyone mute themselves, please, other than Harriet?
Everyone except for Harriet should mute themselves, and we'll start. And Harriet, why don't you start with the, if you're willing to start with the Torah study blessing, that's fine. Otherwise, I can do it.
you can do it.
Okay. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kedishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayikach ha'eved 10 gamalim migamale Adonai vayelech b'chol tuv Adonai biyado vayakam vayelech el aram naharaim el ir nachor ויברח הגמלים מחוץ לעיר אל באר המים, לעת ערב, לעת צאת השואבות. ויאמר אדוני אלוהי אדוני אברהם, הקרנה לפני היום, ויעשה חסד עם אדוני אברהם. והנה אנוכי ניצב על עין המים, ובנות אנשי העיר יוצאות לשאוב מים. והיה הנערה אשר אמר אליה התינוק, חדך ואשתה, ואמרה שתה, וגם גמליך אשקה. אותה הוכחת לעבדך ליצחק, ובעדה כי עשית חסד עם אדוני.
Okay. Then the servant took 10 of his master's camels and set out, taking with him all the bounty of his master. And he made his way to Aram Naharaim, to the city of Nahor. He made the camels kneel down by the well outside the city at evening time, the time when women come out to draw water. And he said, O Lord, God of my master Abraham, grant me good fortune this day, and deal graciously with my master Abraham. Here I stand by the spring as the daughters of the townsmen come out to draw water. Let the maiden to whom I say, please lower your jar that I may drink, and who replies, drink, and I will also water your camels. Let her be the one whom you have decreed for your servant Isaac. Thereby shall I know that you have dealt graciously with my master. The next aliyah is verse 15 through verse 20.
ויהיו טרם קהילה לדבר, והנה רבקה יוצאת, אשר יולדה לבתואל בן מילכה, אשת נחור אחי אברהם, וחדה על שכמה. והנערה טובת מראה מאוד, בתולה, ואיש לא ידעה, ותרת העינה, ותמלא חדה ותעל. וירץ העבד לקראתה, ויאמר, הגמיעיני נא מעט מים מחדך, ותאמר שתי אדוני, ותמהר, ותרד כדה על ידה, ותשקהו, ותוכל להשקותו, ותאמר גם לגמליך אשאב, עד אם כאילו לשתות, ותמהר, ותער כדה על השוקת, ותרץ עוד אל הבאר לשאוב, ותשאב לכל גמליו.
He had scarcely finished speaking when Rebekah, who was born to Bethuel, the son of Milcah, the wife of Abraham's brother Nahor, came out with her jar on her shoulder. The maiden was very beautiful, a virgin whom no man had known. She went down to the spring, filled her jar, and came up. The servant ran toward her and said, please, let me sip a little water from your jar. Drink, my lord, she said. And she quickly lowered her jar upon her hand and let him drink. When she had let him drink his fill, she said, I will also draw for your camels until they finish drinking. Quickly emptying her jar into the trough, she ran back to the well to draw, and she drew for all his camels. The next aliyah, 21 through 26.
והאיש משתאה לה, מחריש לדעת, הצליח אדוני לדרכו עמו, ויהי כאשר כאילו הגמלים לשתות, ויקח האיש נזק זהב בקע משקלו, ושני צמידים על ידיה 10 זהב משקלם. ויאמר בת מי את, הגידי נא לי, Hayesh beit avicha makom lanu lalun. Vatomer elav Batuel Anochi ben Milka asher yalda lenachor. Vatomer elav gam teven gam mishpo rahav imanu gam makom lalun. Vayikod haish v'yishtachu ladonai.
The man, meanwhile, stood gazing at her, silently wondering whether the Lord had made his errand successful or not. When the camels had finished drinking, the man took a gold nose ring weighing a half shekel and 2 gold bands for her arms, 10 shekels in weight. Pray tell me, he said, whose daughter are you? Is there room in your father's house for us to spend the night? She replied, I am the daughter of Betuel, son of Milcah, whom she bore to Nahor. And she went on, there is plenty of straw and feed at home, and also room to spend the night. The man bowed low in homage to the Lord. The next aliyah is verses 27 through 33.
Vayomer Baruch Adonai Elohei Adonai Abraham Asher lo asav chasto v'amito me'im Adoni Anochi b'derech nachani Adonai beit achei Adoni v'tarat hanara v'taged li beit ima kadvarim ha'ele ulerivka ach ushmo Lavan Vayaratz Lavan el ha'ish hachutza el ha'ayin vayehi kirot hanezem ve'et hatzmidim al yedei achoto v'chishma'o et divrei Rivka achoto lemor ko diber elai ha'ish vayavo el ha'ish v'hinei omed al hagmalim al ha'ayin vahayomer bo baruch Adonai lama ta'amod bachutz vanochi paniti habayit umakom lagmalim vayavo ha'ish habayta vayiftach hagmalim vayitein teven umispo lagmalim umayim lichotz raglahav v'raglei ha'anashim asher ito vayasam lefanav le'echol Vayomer lo ochal ad im dibarti divarai Vayomer daber.
Let's see here, 27, okay. And said, blessed be the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who has not withheld his steadfast faithfulness from my master. For I have been guided on my errand by the Lord to the house of my master's kinsman. The maiden ran and told all this to her mother's household. Now Rebekah had a brother whose name was Laban. Laban ran out to the man at the spring when he saw the nose ring and the bands on his sister's arms. And when he heard his sister Rebekah say, thus the man spoke to me, he went up to the man who was still standing beside the camels at the spring. Come in, O blessed of the Lord, he said. Why do you remain outside when I have made ready the house and a place for the camels? So the man entered the house, and the camels were unloaded. The camels were given straw and feed, and water was brought to bathe his feet and the feet of the men with him. But when food was set before him, he said, I will not eat until I have told my tale. He said, speak then. Okay, the next aliyah is verse 34 through 41.
Vayomar Eved Avraham Anochi Adonai berach et Adoni me'od vayigdal vayiten lo tzon uvakar v'chesef v'zahav v'abatim u'shvachot u'gmalim v'chamorim v'ateled Sarah eshet Adoni ven v'Adoni v'acharei ziknata ויתן לו את כל אשר לו, וישביעני אדוני לאמור, לא תיקח אישה לבני מבנות הכנעני, אשר אנוכי יושב בארצו, אם לא אל בית אבי תלך ואל משפחתי, ולקחת אישה לבני. ויאמר על אדוני, אולי לא תלך האישה אחריי. ויאמר אליו, אדוני, אשר התהלכתי לפניי, ישלח מלאכו איתך והצליח דרכך, ולקחת אישה לבני ממשפחתי ומבית אבי. אז תנקה מעלתי, כי תבוא אל משפחתי, ואם לא ייתנו לך, והיית נקי מעלתי.
All right. I am Abraham's servant, he began. The Lord has greatly blessed my master, and he has become rich. He has given him sheep and cattle, silver and gold, male and female slaves, camels and asses. And Sarah, my master's wife, bore my master a son in her old age, and he has assigned to him everything he owns. Now my master made me swear, saying, you shall not get a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites, in whose land I dwell. But you shall go to my father's house, to my kindred, and get a wife for my son. And I said to my master, what if the woman does not follow me? He replied to me, the Lord, whose ways I have followed, will send his angel with you and make your errand successful. And you will get a wife for my son from my kindred, from my father's house. Thus only shall you be freed from my adjuration. If, when you come to my kindred, they refuse you, only then shall you be freed from my adjuration. All right, so the next Aliyah, Aliyah 6 is 42 through 49.
ואבוא היום אל העין, ויאמר, אדוני אלוהי אדוני אברהם, אם ישכנה מצליח דרכי, אשר אנוכי הולך עליה. הנה אנוכי ניצב על עין המים, והיה העלמה היוצאת לשהות, ואמרתי אליה, השכיני נא מעט מים מקדך. ואמרה אלי, גם אתה שתה, וגם גמליך אשאב. הוא האישה אשר יכריח אדוני לבן אדוני. אני טרם אכלה לדבר אל ליבי, והנה רבקה יוצאת בחדה על שכמה, ותרד העינה ותשב, ויאמר אליה, השכיני נא, ותמהר, ותורד כדה מעליה, ותאמר שתה, וגם גמליך אשקה, ואשת, וגם הגמלים השקתה, ואשאל אותה, ויאמר, בן מי את? ותאמר, בת בתואל בן נחור, אשר יולדה לו מילכה, ואשם הנזם על אפה, והצמיתים על ידיה, ואכוד ואשתחווה לאדוני, ויברך את אדוני אלוהי אדוני, אדוני אברהם, אשר הנחני בדרך אמת, לקחת את בית אחי אדוני לבנו, ועתה אם ישכם עשים חסד ואמת אל אדוני, הגידו לי, ואם לא, הגידו לי, יפנה על ימין או על שמאל.
I came today to the spring and said, O Lord, God of my master Abraham, if you would indeed grant success to the errand on which I am engaged. As I stand by the spring of water, let the young woman who comes out to draw, and to whom I say, please let me drink a little water from your jar, and who answers, you may drink, and I will also draw for your camels. Let her be the wife whom the Lord has decreed for my master's son. I had scarcely finished praying in my heart when Rebekah came out with her jar on her shoulder and went down to the spring and drew, and I said to her, please give me a drink. And she quickly lowered her jar and said, drink, and I will also water your camels. So I drank, and she also watered the camels. I inquired of her, whose daughter are you? And she said, the daughter of Bethuel, son of Nahor, whom Milcah bore to him. And I put the ring on her nose and the bands on her arms. Then I bowed low in homage to the Lord and blessed the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who led me on the right way to get the daughter of my master's brother for his son. And now, if you mean to treat my master with true kindness, tell me, and if not, tell me also that I may turn right or left. And the final aliyah, the final aliyah is verses 50 through 52.
Vaya'an Lavan uBethuel vayomaru me'Adonai yatsa davar lo nuchal daber elecha ra'ot tov hine Rivka lefanecha kach velech utehi isha leven Adonecha kasher diber Adonai vayihi kasher shama eved Abraham et divrehem Vayishtachu arza l'Adonai.
Then Lavan and Bethuel answered, the matter was decreed by the Lord. We cannot speak to you bad or good. Here is Rebekah before you. Take her and go, and let her be a wife to your master's son, as the Lord has spoken. When Abraham's servant heard their words, he bowed low to the ground before the Lord. Okay. Great. Excuse me 1 second. So that brings us to the end of this. So we will going to stop this share for a moment. I will invite people to unmute themselves and to say the name of anyone that you are thinking of today for Refuah Shlema, for Misha Berach, those who are ill. Please feel free to, as I said, to unmute yourself. If I see that you are unmuted, I will stop and ask. If I don't see that you're unmuted, I will overlook you. So please do unmute yourself. All right, we'll start with Susan Brandt.
Sarah Brand, Elizabeth Brand, Jennifer Chung, Bruce Haggerty, Shirley Ransom, and Adam.
Miriam.
Nikki Kermish, Amy Bat Rivka, Jean Bat Chayedel.
Petra and Lauren.
Sarah Bat Ruth Abraham.
Sandy.
Ellen Zuniga, David Michael, Elaine Skolnick, Rosemary Alroy, Yair Alroy.
Sherry.
Ruth Batsara.
Ben.
Richard Siegel, Dory Gerber.
Harriet.
Paul Flicker, Richard Ford, Sandra Olansky, Sarah Ward, and Inga DeWilde.
Susan Cohen.
Mary Kellerman, Gail Weisberg.
And that, I don't see anyone else. So if I've overlooked you, please let me know. I will add Tamar Bat Miriam and Naftalia Gittel Bat Libi Yehudit Uvaruch Lev. Okay. So we will now go to the Misha Berach.
Jim.
Oh, I missed you, Paula. Thank you for raising your voice.
All the frontline workers and caregivers and those coping with COVID.
Thank you, Paula. Ellen, I see you've unmuted yourself. Do you want to join?
Yes, please. Patricia, Pincus, and Anna Salamone.
Great. All right, so I'm going to, let's see here. I've got to find the right, excuse me one moment as I find the right text. I had it up a minute ago. There it is. I don't think Norman is with us. I didn't see him, so I will take on the singing of Misha Berach. Misha Berach Avoteinu Mikol Imotenu. Bless the, may the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misha Berach Imotenu Mekor Beracha Avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. All right, so we will turn now to the Haftarah. Do we have a volunteer for reading the Haftarah today? Okay, all right. So Petra and Lauren is on. So we will, if you have a book in front of you, I think it's page 174 or 175 for the appropriate blessings.
175.
175, great. And then I'm going to put I will put the Haftarah up on the screen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar b'neiim tovim v'ratzah divreihem hanemarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai abocher b'torah u'Moshe avdo u'Yisrael amo. King David was now old, advanced in years, and though they covered him with bedcloths, he never felt warm. His courtiers said to him, "Let a young virgin be sought for my lord the king, to wait upon your majesty, and be his attendant, and let her lie in your bosom, and my lord the king shall be warm." So they looked for a beautiful girl throughout the territory of Israel. They found Abishag, the Shunammite, and brought her to the king. The girl was exceedingly beautiful. She became the king's attendant and waited upon him. But the king was not intimate with her. Now Adonijah, the son of Haggith, went about boasting, "I will be king." He provided himself with chariots and horses and an escort of 50 outrunners. His father had never scolded him. "Why did you do that?" He was the one born after Absalom, and, like him, was very handsome. He conferred with Joab, son of Zeruiah, and with the priest Abiathar, and they supported Adonijah. But the priest Zadok, Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, the prophet Nathan, Shammai, and Ray And David's own fighting men did not side with Adonijah. Adonijah made a sacrificial feast of sheep, oxen, and fatlings at the Zoheleth stone, which is near Enrogel. He invited all his brother princes and all the king's courtiers of the tribe of Judah. But he did not invite the prophet Nathan or Benaiah, or the fighting men, or his brother Solomon. Then Nathan said to Bathsheba, Solomon's mother, "You must have heard that Adonijah, son of Haggith, has assumed the kingship without the knowledge of our Lord David. Now take my advice so that you may save your life and the life of your son Solomon. Go immediately to King David and say to him, 'Did not you, O Lord King, swear to your maidservant, your son Solomon shall succeed me as king, and he shall sit upon my throne? Then why has Adonijah become king? While you are still here talking with the king, I will come in after you and confirm your words.' So Bathsheba went to the king in his chambers. The king was very old, and Abishag the Shunammite was waiting on the king. Bathsheba bowed low in homage to the king, and the king asked, 'What troubles you?' She answered him, 'My lord, you yourself swore to your maidservant, by the Lord your God, your son Solomon shall succeed me as king, and he shall sit upon my throne. Yet now Adonijah has become king, and you, my lord the king, know nothing about it. He has prepared a sacrificial feast of a great many oxen, fatlings, and sheep, and he has invited all the king's son, and Abiathar the priest, and Joab the commander of the army, but he has not invited your servant Solomon. And so the eyes of all Israel are upon you, O Lord King, to tell them who shall succeed my lord the king on the throne. Otherwise, when my lord the king lies down with his fathers, my son Solomon and I will be regarded as traitors.' She was talking to the king when the prophet Nathan arrived. They announced to the king, 'The prophet Nathan is here.' And he entered the king's presence. Bowing low to the king with his face to the ground, Nathan said, 'O Lord King, you must have said, Adonijah shall succeed me as king, and he shall sit upon my throne. For he has gone down today and prepared a sacrificial feast of a great many oxen, fatlings, and sheep. He invited all the king's sons and the army officers and Abiathar the priest. At this very moment they are eating and drinking with him, and they are shouting, 'Long live King Adonijah!' But he did not invite me, your servant, or the priest Zadok, or Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, or your servant Solomon. Can this decision have come from my lord the king without your telling your servant who is to succeed to the throne of my lord the king?' King David's response was, 'Summon Bathsheba.' She entered the king's presence and stood before the king. And the king took an oath, saying, 'As the Lord lives, who has rescued me from every trouble, the oath I swore to you by the Lord, the God of Israel, that your son Solomon should succeed me as king, and that he should sit upon my throne in my stead, I will fulfill this very day.' Bathsheba bowed low in homage to the king with her face to the ground, and she said, 'May my lord King David live forever.'" At this moment, we get the page here. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, tzur kol haolamim, tzadik b'kol hadorot, ha'el ha'ne'eman, ha'omer v'oseh, ha'medaber u'mkayem, shekol devaran emet v'tzedek. Ne'eman atahu Adonai Eloheinu, v'ne'emanim devarecha, v'davar echad midvarecha, Ahor lo yashuv rekam, ki el melech ne'eman, v'rachaman ata, baruch ata Adonai, ha'el ha'ne'eman b'kol devaran. Rachem al Zion ki hi beit dayenu, ve'alaloba nefesh toshia, b'mhera b'yameinu, baruch ata Adonai, Misameach Zion b'banecha, Samkeinu Adonai Eloheinu, ve'Eloha hanavi avdecha, u'malkut beit avi mishchecha, b'mhera v'lo v'yagel libenu, al kiso lo yeshev zar, v'lo yinchal lo od aharim et kavodo, ki v'Hashem k'dshecha, nishbata lo, shelo yikbe naro leolam va'ed, Baruch ata Adonai, Magen David, al haTorah, ve'al ha'avodah, ve'al ha'nevaim, ve'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh, shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu, likdusha u'lichucha, likavod u'tafaret, al hakol Adonai Eloheinu, anachnu modim lach, Umbarkeim Otah, Yitbarak Simcha B'fei Kol Chai, Tamid Leolam Va'ed, Baruch Atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen.
Yashkoach. All right, so great. So before we turn to our Torah discussion, I just want to. There's two other people I would like to introduce who are newer members of our community. So Susan Cohen is here. I think she's been here a few times. Lives in Brookline. Welcome, Susan. And then also Carol Miller, whose screen name is Chanel Klein, has been actually with us for a long time. And I just realized today that I've never actually introduced her to the rest of the community. So thrilled that you've, Carol, that you've not only that you've joined us, but you've been with us steadily for a number of months. So it's really great to see our numbers increasing as this pandemic seems to be dragging on, and that we are able to come together as a community and also across communities is really wonderful. So I do hope that people will continue to join us and continue to tell your friends and neighbors about the lovely Shabbat community that we have both on Friday evenings and on Saturday mornings. Paula is here, I think, because Carol invited her, which is really great. So word of mouth does work in terms of our community. So I hope that will continue. Great. So I will open the floor now. I will just point out that by some random trick of calendrical magic, the haftarah that we read today is the very end of the story of David. So when you the first two chapters of the Book of Kings are in a certain way kind of a continuation of the Book of Samuel, so we in my little group that I have of people who are reading the book of the Book of Samuel, we will have our final session on Monday, and we will be looking at exactly this chapter. Just a truly remarkable piece of literature. Anyway, so I open the floor to comments about the Torah portion and also about the Haftarah, if you are so moved. Miriam, I see you're unmuted.
But what struck me more than usual in the Torah reading today was the servant's prayers. He's not, I mean, presumably he's a convert, but we don't really know anything about him. He's not a member of the family, but he's one of the few individuals in Torah whose prayer is quoted, and he clearly is devout.
Very interesting. It's very interesting. And the thing, this is maybe only tangentially related, but I also noticed in reading it this week that he repeats himself. He sort of hears what he was supposed to, there's a sort of repetition of the story about how Rebecca is going to come out. He not only prays it, he also reports his prayer. And so there's this kind of repetitious aspect to this story that is unusual in the Torah, which usually tends towards being laconic rather than expansive.
Well, he needs to make sure that he's doing what he's supposed to.
Right.
And
He has to brag that he did what he was supposed to do. Yeah, go ahead, Harriet. I see your mute is off, so maybe you want to say something.
Well, I just wanted to point out that one thing I noticed when I first worked on this passage is that the verb timaher, she hurried. Not only does she do what she is supposed to do out of kindness, but it says several times she hurried. So that seems something significant about her personality. Not only is she taking initiative, that not only is she going to give him a drink, but she's going to water the camels, but she's going to do it 1, 2, 3. She's going to do it right away. And I would just imagine that watering the camels is a very big job compared with just giving someone a drink. That giving him a drink from her jug is, well, why not? You know, but offering to water the camels, they are thirsty camels. And it's quite a task. So he reports that she watered the camels when he speaks to her family. That's, as you say, that's a repetition. He repeats that specifically. So I think that's part of her character that we're supposed to think about, that you not only do what is asked, but you do what is obvious that also needs to be done. I mean, if the man needs a drink, how much more so must the camels need a drink, because they've been doing all the work of carrying his possessions. We also see from this that the servant has a bunch of stuff with him, that he's well provisioned. He sort of pulls out this ring and bracelets, that he clearly brought them along in anticipation of finding the right bride to be. And that this is something that her brother noticed. He noticed when he saw the bracelets and the ring, then he ran to do something about it. So this gets the family all excited that he comes really bringing these gifts. So he's well prepared and she's well prepared. We got two well prepared individuals meeting one another. She has the strength to draw the water to feed all the camels, and he has the booty, which is supposed to be delivered to the prospective bride. So it's the opposite of a chance encounter. Both sides are ready to go.
Yeah, I noticed two other things today as you were reading, Harriet, that really struck me. The one is that that she calls the servant, Eliezer is the name that the tradition gives him. She calls him Lord, right, Adoni, which I thought was very interesting because he's the servant. Yet in this case, he sort of takes on, in some ways, takes on the I don't know, the aspect of his own master. So he becomes Adoni. And the other thing is that that it turns out that he doesn't only have a whole bunch of stuff and camels with him. Unless I misread it, he also has a bunch of guys with him, right? No one really ever travels alone in this context. You've always got a team with you. So it becomes, which makes the act of watering the camels that much more, I don't know, it's almost like a ritual act, right? There's no way in which he couldn't do it for himself, because he wouldn't have to do it anyway. He's got a whole team of guys that can take care of the camels. But there's something ritualistic about this act of hospitality and service that is, it's more than just a nice thing to do. I'll leave it at that. Go ahead, Jim, and then I see Sherry also unmuted herself. So I'll assume, Sherry, that you're in the queue.
Two things. First of all, it's the servant who comes up with the test. It's God who is supposed to be administering it, but it's the servant who thought it up. And, you have to wonder why he came up with that particular test, and whether he has a sense that Isaac needs a real firecracker to keep the household and the line going. So that's number one. And the second thing is that when you have the repetition, it's with the idea of how the person is now going to persuade perhaps reluctant people by recounting a story. And here you have that going on. And you also have it in the story where Joseph goes before Pharaoh and asks Pharaoh's permission to bury his father Jacob in Canaan, and which involves traveling all long distance and leaving Egypt. And there he makes a special point and says, my father made me swear before he died, and I have to keep that oath. And it's interesting that here too, there's an oath that's mentioned as well. So the context of the repetition is a context of persuasion, of telling a story with the aim of convincing somebody.
Great. Thank you. Sherry.
I just wanted to say two things, just to respond. You said that Elias was called Lord Adonai. Isn't that an honorific, just a term of respect more than to actually make him a Lord? But I wanted to just share that with this Haftarah, that it's a very precious memory for me that my aunt, Auntie Annie, used to teach bar mitzvahs and Haftarahs, and we went to visit her, and when she was at age in her 90s in a nursing home, and we went to talk to her. My brother said, "Oh, I don't think she'll know you. I don't think she'll remember anything." And I said, "Oh yeah, let's see." And I said hi, and she sort of out of it, but I started to sing that Haftarah, and she immediately responded, and she knew it. Amelach David Zaken. She just like belted it out right there, and so it's very precious to me to hear that Haftarah.
That's a great story. Yeah, go ahead, Miriam.
Well, first, I'd like to thank Sherry for sharing that very precious memory. But following up on Jim's point about it, like that she hurried to do it, that's reminiscent of Abraham, who we are told really raced when the angels came that announced that he was to have a son. He was running around to provide food and water, and this, so in a way, it's showing us something about Rebecca's character, that she belongs in the family, and it will be the way Isaac was also brought up, that it will be a good fit. But in terms of the question of whether, Eliezer could just have said to the men, "Look, let's water our camels," I'm not sure that they would have been allowed to use that well. The well may have belonged to the people of that community and not be available to others unless they agreed to share it.
But I think I agree with you, and at the same time, I think that there is unless drawing the water has to be done by the women, which is possible, but that once permission has been granted, there would be no particular reason unless it's some sort of ritualistic idea. And just to respond to Sherry on the issue of the Adoni, he's called Eved, right, again and again. And so there's something about, I just get the sense that there's something about him being in the place of his master that elevates him in some sort of a way.
Right. I didn't mean it as a contradiction, just it was sort of a fine point.
Yeah.
I have something to add to that issue, and that is that in the book In an Antique Land by Amitav Ghosh, which tells the story of Jewish family in the Middle Ages who traveled from North Africa to India and were engaged in all kinds of mercantile activities. I recall that it mentions that this individual who was the focus of the story started out as a paid servant a paid agent of a wealthy person who was a trader, and that he had the authority where he was located to make transactions on behalf of the merchant. And that there seems to have been in the Middle Ages a sense that somebody could be the official agent of a wealthy person, even if they weren't that person themselves. And it reminds me of this, that this servant may have had some kind of status like that.
Thank you. All right. Any other comments about either of these pieces? Okay, great. All right. Well, thank you everyone who participated. And if you would like to join us, Monday evening will be our final discussion of the actual text, and then the week after that, the plan, at least, we'll see if it actually happens, is to discuss. There's a New Yorker article about King David from the archaeological perspective that was recently in the New Yorker, and very interesting article that will be made available for people who would like to read it and join that discussion. All right. So we will turn back now to our liturgy as we conclude. Okay, page 199. Yismechu v'malchutecha shomrei 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 Shabbat v'kor eoneg Shabbat. Yismechu v'malchutecha shomrei 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 Shabbat v'kor eoneg Shabbat. Mekadosh Shavi Shabbat Kulam Yispu V'tanegu b'tuvecha Shabbat Yismechu v'malchutecha Shomrei 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 Shabbat v'kor eoneg Shabbat Yismechu v'malchutecha Shomrei 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 Shabbat v'kor eoneg Shabbat Hashvi Ratzita bo v'kidashto Shabbat Chemdad Yamim Oto karata Shabbat Yismechu v'malchutecha Shomrei 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 Shabbat v'kor eoneg Shabbat Yismechu v'malchutecha Shomrei 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 Shabbat v'kor eoneg Shabbat Zecher L'maaseh v'reshit Shabbat Zecher L'maaseh v'reshit Shabbat. Page 201. Asim shalom tova uveracha achem v'chesed v'rachamim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol Yisrael amecha Barecheinu Avinu kulanu ke'echad Bior panecha Barecheinu Avinu kulanu ke'echad Bior panecha Ki ba'or panecha natata lanu Adonai Eloheinu tochahat chayim V'ahavat chesed u'tzaka uveracha V'rachamim b'chayim v'shalom V'tov be'enecha levarech et amecha Levarech et amecha Yisrael B'chol בכל עת ובכל שעה, בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. יאללה לה לה, יאללה לה לה, יאללה לה, יאללה לה, יאללה לה, יאללה לה, יאללה לה לה, יאללה לה, יאללה לה, יאללה, יאללה לה, יאללה לה, יאללה לה, יאללה לה לה, יאללה לה 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 לה, יאללה לה 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 לה, יאללה לה, יאללה לה, יאללה לה לה לה, יאללה לה 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 לה, יאללה לה לה לה, יאללה לה, יאללה לה לה, יאללה לה. Ay, ay, la, 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 la. Okay, so we will turn now to page 204 for En Kelohenu. En Kelohenu, En Kadonenu, En Kemalkenu, En Kemoshienu, non como nuestro Dios, non como nuestro Señor, non como nuestro Rey, non como nuestro Salvador. Mi Elohenu, mi Adonenu, mi Malkenu, mi Moshienu, ken como nuestro Dios, ken como nuestro Señor, ken como nuestro Rey, ken como nuestro Salvador. No del Elohenu, no del Adonenu, no del Malkenu, no del Moshienu, lo haremos a nuestro Dios, lo haremos a nuestro Señor, lo haremos a nuestro Rey, lo haremos a nuestro Salvador. Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, bendito nuestro Dios, bendito nuestro Señor, bendito nuestro Rey, bendito nuestro Salvador. Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Gotenu, Atahu Moshienu, tú el nuestro Dios, tú el nuestro Señor, tú el nuestro Rey, tú el nuestro Salvador. Page 205, I invite you to rise as you are able for the Eleno. Aleinu l'shabech la'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים, לפני מלך מלכי המלאכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו ופסולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום וישיבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת עינו. Page 206. כן חברך אדוני אלוהינו לראות מהר תפארת זך להעביר גלילים מן הארץ. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר והיה אדוני מלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יחיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. All right, so I invite you now to unmute yourself if you would like to remember someone for whom you are saying yahrzeit, saying Kaddish for a yahrzeit, or if you are in mourning, please feel free to unmute yourself and name the person. Paula.
Kaya bat Razel Vitadris, Benjamin Yosef, Ben Shmuel Vithega, Brian Arisa, bat Shmuel Vithega. My parents and my aunt. I am in my years of mourning.
Petra and Lauren?
My mother, Annette Ruth Miller Joseph.
Let's see. And Marcia?
All those who have no one to say Kaddish for them.
Thank you. And Harriet?
My father, Earl Feinberg.
And Erwin?
I think we can recognize the recent passing of Rabbi Jonathan Sachs.
Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think we can recognize the recent passing of Cantor Sheila Klein.
Oh, right. Sheila Klein also, right. Thank you very much.
She was one of the first two women to be accepted to Hebrew Union College's School of Sacred Music.
If anyone's interested in her, she was a local person, Sheila, and a member at Temple Sinai in Brookline. If anyone's interested in learning a little bit about her, please let me know. I have some materials. So, Kaddish is found on page 206.
While we do it, Rabbi, I would just like to mention that Rabbi Gold designated the time around Kristallnacht as one to say Kaddish for all the victims in the Shoah whose actual yard sites are not known.
It's a beautiful custom. Thank you for letting me know about that. So we will include all those people as well. Page 20, I'm sorry, I was wrong, page 207.
Yep.
Yitkadal, Yitkadash,
Amen.
Yama Divrach Hirute Yamli Machute V'chayefo Bagala Uizman Kari Vimru Amen.
Amen.
Yiparach V'Shabbat V'Ba'ar V'Draman V'Naseh V'Tadar V'Taleh V'Taleh Ela Mimkol Birkatav Shiratav Dus B'Chatav V'Nechamatav Tamiran Diama V'Imru Amen.
Amen.
Yehi Shlomo Rabba Min Shemaya V'Chaim Aleinu Yisrael. Amen.
Amen.
Shalom B'Romav Booyah Aseh Shalom Aleinu Yachol Yisrael Yoshvei Tevel V'Imru Amen.
Amen.
Oh, say shalom. Uyase shalom aleinu. Le'al kol Yisrael. Bimru, amen. Yase shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yase shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. All right, so I invite people to unmute themselves if you have announcements to share with us.
I have a couple. First of all, our book group, 1 Million One Book, is going to be reconvening on December 6th, Sunday, December 6th, to talk about the book, the novel Homesick, by the popular Israeli author Eshkol Nevo. Homesick is the name of the novel, on December 6th. And this week is Rosh Chodesh Kislev. And if the month of Kislev is starting, that means that Hanukkah is not far behind. The holiday starts on Thursday evening, December 10th. And on the 15th, our minyan is going to be celebrating Hanukkah on Zoom together. on Tuesday evening, the 15th. Now, I'd like to give a nod to Lauren Joseph, because for some years now, Lauren has been urging us to have a debate between latkes and Hamantash. And lo and behold, this year, the Commission on Gastronomic Debates is going to actually be sponsoring a debate at our Hanukkah party. And in order for this debate to happen, though, we need to recruit some people to be on the teams on behalf of your favorite pastry or food. And we need some people. We've already had the first volunteer, but we need a whole team on each side. And there's so many things that a person could say based on their own knowledge, background, and about these latkes and Hamantash. So nobody should be bashful. So please contact Sherry and let her know which team you would prefer to be on.
Okay, we just got another volunteer for Team Latkes from Steve Atlas. So we're excited. This is building up great.
All right, so Susan is also.
Oh, and is that another volunteer, Susan?
There we go.
Team Latka? All right.
So Dr.
Latkes.
All right.
We'll be able to the health benefits of latkes as well.
Gluten-free latkes.
Well, thanks to Zoom, though, we can get volunteers from all over the country. Maybe Martha Nussbaum might repeat hers that she did in iambic hexameter or something like that.
Wow.
So we can see.
Or all over the world.
Yeah.
Hello, Satan had people from all over the world.
And even from other planets. But
self-respecting Israeli would have something to say in favor of Sufgani.
So is anybody going to speak on behalf of?
Bye, Ann. Good Shabbos, Ann. Thanks for joining.
Shabbos.
Right.
Thank you to everyone.
Sherry, give it some thought.
Right, you need to talk to Alana about Sufganiyot. I mean, I don't think we could,
I think.
Well, all I can say is do not forsake us.
Herb, go ahead.
Lauren is right to urge us to carry on a tradition that was started at the University of Chicago. So I think we ought to have some representation of some of those early Latke Hamantash, but I'll try to be in touch with Sherry about that.
Oh, wonderful.
Great.
Great.
All right. We are having a schmooze and learn, I think, on the 22nd. So next Sunday evening, we're going to watch Mikkel Goldman's movie.
In advance.
Yes, At Home in Utopia, right? So if you have any questions or if you run into any trouble watching the movie, which is, I actually was shocked at how simple it was. You just have to contact your local library, and they will walk you through it. And so try to watch that movie ahead of time, and then we'll be able to have a conversation with the filmmaker, which I think will be really great.
If you just go to www.canopy,
right.
With a K.com, you can click get started. Everything follows from there. You don't have to even go to your library. It'll connect for you.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sherry. I should have clarified. If you don't have a library card in your community, then you need to call the library and get one.
Then you do, yeah. But if you have one, all you have to do is
good to go. Exactly. And if you are if you're in Brookline, I'm planning to show the movie on a screen. If you're at Center Communities of Brookline, I'm going to show the movie on a screen, probably in Skyline Cafe at 100 Center Street the afternoon before the
that's next week, the 22nd.
The 22nd, I'll show it like at 6 o'clock or maybe 5.
Oh, that's great.
Something like that. So if you're a member of that community, you're more than welcome to come to 100 Center Street and up to the and watch it.
That's wonderful.
Okay. All right. Any other announcements that need making? All right. Well, good Shabbos, everybody. Wonderful as usual to spend Saturday morning with you all, and we will conclude with Adon Olam. Just have to find it. There it is. Okay.
Page 211.
Page 211. Adon Olam, Hashem Olam, B'terem Ko Yitzir Nivra, V'yet Nasa B'chefso Kol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra, V'yacharei Kichot HaKol, Levado Yimloch Noram, V'hu Haya V'hu Hoveh, V'hu Yihyeh B'tifara, V'hu Yihyeh B'tifara, V'hu Echad B'yem Sheni, Lahamshir Lo Lahachbira, V'li Reishit V'li Tachrit, Lo Ha'am Yisra, Lo Ha'oz V'ham Yisra, V'hu Eli V'chai Go'ali V'tzor Chavli V'yetzara, V'hu Nisi U'mana, not go see beyond Mekara, and not go see beyond Mekara. Hebruchi b'yet bishan ha'ira, Hebruchi gabiyati, Adonai li v'lo ira, Adonai li v'lo ira. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Thank everyone for spending the
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.
Jim, can I call you now? Do you have a couple minutes?
Sure.
Okay.
Or why don't you just stay on the Zoom and we'll do it that way.
Okay.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbos, nice to see you. Say hi to Sivya.
Thank you.
We're done, Marty. It's all over. Ain't no more. Shabbat shalom.
Oh. All right.
Marty, we're all done. You can sign off.
All right, Marty. See you later.
I'm turning it off.
Great.
Okay.
All right, Marty, I'm going to put you in the waiting room while you're waiting.
Okay.
Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
All right, I'm making myself a coffee. It's just time. So it'll be a little noisy for a second.
That's okay.
So
how's everything?
my foot is a lot better. I didn't run this morning, but I did yesterday and today. I took very long walks, and that was actually sort of surprisingly satisfying as a substitute. I was not expecting. I was sort of expecting it to be like a blah sort of a thing, but there's people who that's their exercise, right? They kind of race walk.
I walk. I don't race walk, but I walk. That's my exercise.
Yeah.
Especially if you go somewhere pretty.
Right, exactly. I mean, that's one of the things I love about running is that, I run up and down the Charles River Greenway, towards Waltham or towards Boston.
Mm-hmm.
And in both cases, it's just so lovely to be out.
I know one walk that I started doing last spring that I really enjoy is driving to Watertown Square and walking out from there.
That's one of my runs. I can't get enough of it. It's
Great.
Today I walked around the reservoir, which used to be, from my old place. If I ran around the reservoir, it was like 5.25 miles, which was a perfect sort of average run for me. And now it's about depending on how I go, like 3.5 to 4 miles, which is too short for me generally. But anyway, no, I went to, I love running up and down the Charles. It's just.
I mean, there are a lot of other nice hikes around here. I mean, there's I can't remember what it's called, but there's a 6-mile trail that goes from Habitat in Belmont to I think it's called Stonehurst. It's this historic house in Waltham, sort of across the street from Bentley.
Okay.
Which is really nice. It's mostly woods. There's some sections that are along the road, but it's mostly going through the woods. It's a really nice thing. And the Middlesex Fells is really nice.
Yeah. There's another place in Belmont, another small park that's sort of bisected by some main road, which is probably Trapello Road, I think it is. And so there's like a wooded place, very much woods, and then there's another part of it which is more has paved trails and stuff like this, and a big swimming pool, and I discovered that a couple of months ago too. So have you ever
heard of the Bay Circuit Trail?
No.
It's I think it's like 200 miles. It goes from Newburyport in a big loop all the way around the metro area and ends up in, I think, Duxbury.
Wow.
And it's, I think that at this point, last I knew a few years ago, they had acquired rights to all but maybe 15 miles. And there are stretches on the road, but it's well marked with these white blazes.
Yeah.
And I don't know, about 4 or 5 years ago, I had organized this hiking group on Sunday mornings, and we would, I sort of would figure out where we would go, and we did sections of that where we could sort of park at the beginning and park at the end, so we didn't have to do out and backs. And it's, there's really some really beautiful stretches of it.
Yeah. It's sort of like a hiking equivalent of working through a Masechet of Talmud. You sort of you take a tour of every. I
would love to do the whole thing someday,
yeah.
But it's like, it's a drive to get to Newburyport.
Oh yeah.
But maybe when you can be in a car with somebody else,
right?
Something to do.
Yeah. No, I think it's a great idea.
This week, a couple of times, I went up to Breakheart Reservation. You ever been there?
No.
It's in Saugus and Wakefield.
Okay.
It's right on Route 1 at the Linfells Parkway.
Yeah.
It's
that was actually where I was headed that day that I found the place in Belmont.
Okay. There's a loop. There's a big paved loop road, but there's also lots of trails.
Yeah. That was I think it was something about some combination of timing plus Google Maps said that it was excessively busy or something like this. So it was like, all right.
Well, when I went Sunday, it was quite Sunday. There were a lot of people there, but if you went, a lot of people just take the paved loop road.
Right.
So if you're in the trails in the woods, it's really not bad.
Right.
And it was just beautiful. I mean, they have their ponds, and it was. I have this good friend from law school who's a mushroom forager. So I go foraging with her. So we were up hunting.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know a bunch of people.
Russians,
I know, right?
Russians, right?
Most of these people I'm out of touch with because they still live in Russia, and I haven't seen them for years. But I remember going in the woods, and we would be looking for mushrooms, and
right. Well, my friend's Lithuanian, so
right, and I would point out a mushroom, and they say, "Oh no, you can't eat that kind."
Right.
It's like, clearly, I'm not a mushroom forager.
Well, the weather report is looking much, much better for tomorrow.
Good.
Glad to see.
I mean, it was really beautiful this morning. It's a little cloudy now.
Right. And a friend of mine was over there yesterday. She said they've laid down all these like plywood sheets along the path. I don't know, so people won't fall or something. I'm going to go over this afternoon and see what it looks like.
Well, it's right. It says it's going to be chilly tomorrow, but the rain is not supposed to start till evening, so that's good.
It's not going to be much when it does.
Right.
But it's supposed to be 50, high of 50, so that's not bad.
Exactly.
So
that'd be good.
So you're going to have to open the meeting, the Zoom, right?
Yeah. Well, I'll be there. I'll open it on my phone.
Okay.
And
then you can make me a co-host.
My iPad doesn't have it, but then I will assign whomever you have chosen, I will assign that person as the host.
Well, we're gonna use my iPad. So you can use,
great.
Right. And also, did you ever get the Luox? Because I was thinking you could bring mine.
I never did.
Oh, you didn't?
If I can get to Israel Bookstore tomorrow morning before I come to Cambridge, then I can, if I were still living down the street, I would say I'll definitely do it. But since it's it's a little bit out of the way, if I can do it, I will, because that would be.
It's not a big deal. I mean, I can.
Jim Leffert invited. Is he going to be coming? Oh, I don't need one for Jim, but Norman's not going to come. So the only person is you. Yeah.
No, there aren't really any Hillel people. We've got a 25 person limit.
Right.
So.
All right. Any other things I should know?
Gail's brother is not coming. He went to Indiana yesterday to do some sheep work, but I discouraged him from coming anyway because it would have just been,
schlep from where, even from it's a real schlep. Is your brother's not coming, or is he coming?
Who?
Your brother?
No, I told them not to come.
Good.
No, because he doesn't drive. So his wife would have, and they didn't want to stay over, so his wife would have had to basically drive to and from Brooklyn herself in a day. So I discouraged them from coming.
That would be crazy.
Yeah. And my sister wanted to come, but I told she would have had to fly and quarantine. And anyway, so I told her not to come.
They can do this by Zoom.
Yeah. So.
Well, great. All right. So then good. So I'll be there at around 1:15 and
12:15.
Oh, sorry, 12:15. I'll be there around 12:15 and we'll get the Zoom up and running. Is that what time are you going to get there?
I'll get there about 12:15.
Okay, good.
And I'll see if the Museys can get there around then too.
Great.
And you can come in the back gate. That's the easiest way.
Right.
And it's crazy because you can find it on Waze.
You can find the grave on Waze?
You put in Goldfinch Path.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine did it yesterday. Waze will take you to Goldfinch Path.
So I have to see if I have Waze, but I tend not to use it because I get to turn it off and then my battery is gone.
Well, it takes you in the front entrance and then it takes you The thing that's confusing though about Goldfinch Path is that it's actually a U shape.
Yeah.
So it's two Goldfinch Paths off the more main road. So it's the spur that has the wood.
Yeah.
Plywood on it.
It's hysterical. It's on Google Maps too.
Oh yeah.
That is too funny. It's between the two meadow roads.
Yeah.
That is crazy. All right, good. So we'll get there at 12:15 and we'll make sure that the tech is up and running and we'll take it from there.
Okay, great. Okay. Thank you. Good job.